What's up, my totally tubular viewers? And today, or tonight, we certainly have a bit of a different video for y'all. Now, I know it's been a little bit, but now we have the best books of all time recommendation list. And while I have some of them, I don't have all of them on me right now. And this is so far, so I might make a follow-up video down the line expanding my repertoire. Anyway, so I'll get to how this is going to work. So over here we have some of the best books of all time. Do it when we get to it. So this book, which I'm going to give pretty soon to someone very special, is it's about investing, of course, but it's like why the bold triumph over the bold and the new, the tried and true. So, and or you take the new tech stocks, and you see them keep on accumulating growth. This is a better example, by the way, with the tech stocks. And it's like all brand new, but guess what? There's no dividends, so you're not going to have that return on your investment all the time, and it can go like it's extremely volatile. Like it's like a 100 at least 100% PE ratio, which which basically means it just fluctuates all over the place. But with an economy where the oil prices are going up sky high, the prices of games are getting higher, and there's more of a demand for games, and you start to see, like with oil in particular, I decided to look into oil stocks because it's used in 72% or 72 different products. Now, in helium and plastic are of course byproducts, which plastic, I really even need to say it? Like, that shrimp is used in almost everything that we use. So anyways, so that needless to say, this book was recommended by Warren Buffett himself, who, I mean, who doesn't know Warren Buffett? He's a great guy, and yeah, he lives like a humble life despite, you would think he would spend his money lavishly because he has so much money in the first place. Like most billionaires would, buy a couple of super yachts or whatever. But he decides to, really use all the utility of his resources, and the economists would very much appreciate that, because I would use my car until the engine dies, and I would spend, if I had a lot of money, I would spend it on the Maslow hierarchy of needs rather than like some instant gratification doohickeys that give me little to no utility, like a lot of other people spend their money on. But that's a story for another day. Anyways, flipping through, you'll see that there's a chapter called The Growth Trap. And yeah, it's true that, there are some growth traps out there, out on the market. And then like, so some of these I forgot what they were about since it's been a long time, but this guy is very wise, and I agree with what a lot of what he says in there. And yeah, I mean, and yeah, some people like to read this little part over here. It's kind of like a little synopsis, but sometimes they put it on the back. But anyways, like, great book. Lucky by Design. So it's a similar kind of finance book, but very different because it talks about this hidden economics for what you need to get more of what you want. And it takes these everyday scenarios, like if someone, say they have kids and they want to share, and they only have one dessert, so what do? They share it equally amongst the other kids, or they could have like then there's other ones where it's like, well, he talks about all the nuances with scarce resources, optimizing time with being on multiple wait lists, and the waiting game is like increasing more of your chances of what you want. Like, say someone's having an emergency and they need an organ transplant, but organ transplants are very rare. So what do? They book an appointment for every organ donor in the United States, or like half of it. And so that increases their chances that someone will be able to have it. And is it selfish to other people that are trying to get an organ transplant? Yeah, probably. But I mean, you want to be able to, last throughout your days. So But yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to be selfish like that. But it's unfortunate that there are some moral dilemmas there. But yeah, um, yeah, Need for Speed. Yeah, it's like yeah, the randomness can also play a huge role. You can also gamble on, or not gamble, but like capitalize off of people's speculation as well in markets. And you can also design your own markets as well, based off of some behavioral economics. And I mean, I'm sure they'll get to it in the book. I haven't finished the entire book yet. I got to the 4th chapter, so I'm halfway there. But yeah, it's been an interesting read. Most economic books, I you know, I kind of doze off a little bit, but this one has kept my interest pretty well. And it's very skimmable because you'll see right here that there's different sections within these chapters where you can see what it's about, and then you can go to the final paragraph, which summarizes the entire thing of the entire section. So it's very convenient. And so if you're in a time bind and you want to use Pareto's principle of only spending 20% of your effort with 80% of the results, I highly recommend that you do this. So yeah, there it is. All right, Romance and Practicalities. Now, I really enjoyed this book, but not in the way that people would expect. So there's a questionnaire at the back, and it's really helped me a lot, and it'll help anyone and their special someone get more clarity for different things they might have not come to question about one another. And I feel like it just really, and it's fun too. Like there'll be this complete questionnaire, and I mean, this is really the bread and butter of the book. I really don't care about most of the like her relationships that she talks about. I'm more here for this part right here, which yeah, it's 250 questions, and it goes from anything to animals and pets and religion, spirituality, politics, you name it. All great stuff. Yeah. And some of them are, yeah, very creative questions. And yeah, some of them are open-ended questions, which I recommend really anyone look into open-ended questions, because there'll be times where you might run out of things to say and you want to fill up some silence in a conversation. I mean, yeah, those are good opportunities for that, but it's also important because we live in an age where we don't give our minds time to really breathe and absorb what's being said or what's being learned about 100% of the time. It's like always on to the next distraction, and that's not always the most healthy solution. But yeah, it is what it is, and you know, as long as people understand that, to me, that seems like something they should at least try to strive for. Anyways, great book. The Next Conversation by Jefferson Fisher. Great guy. He's this guy who made a bunch of these shorts on advice to deal with difficult people and conversations on Instagram. And he just would say things that were in the most polite way, and most like his way with words was just on another level. And if you ever get into some situations, sometimes you might need to refer to this guy, or if you have trouble saying no, or if you have trouble like with setting boundaries or anything like that. He even has a chapter on boundaries right here. Difficult people, assertive voice. These are awesome chapters. Controlling yourself, controlling the moment, controlling the pace. Great chapter. Yeah, all of part 2, and then yeah, chapter 1. Never win an argument. Like, how many people want to be right all the time? You know, I'm sure you know someone who wants to be right all the time, but what a lot of people don't realize is that you know, a great argument is either won through consensus, like by compromise, or if both parties feel that they won in their own ways. And that's really, you win by compromising and both parties winning. And like any person who negotiates any sort of deal with anyone will tell you that. And it works in business, it works in relationships. It just, yeah, it's great stuff. And so, yeah, Truth About Connection, and yeah, The Next Conversation is all of it's great. And then Frames, and difficult conversations. Yeah, I mean, they're all pretty self-explanatory for what they cover, which is nice. And yeah, dealing with some people have to deal with narcissists and gaslighting. That one is, yeah, that one's definitely worth checking out, especially in an age with social media and perpetuating narcissism and narcissist tendencies and making people feel bad about themselves and by comparing others. And you get the idea. So anyways, enough said about that. China World History by Paul S. Schwab. One of the best history books I've read by far. It's just like, it's so interesting. Now, I don't really care for too many history books, but it's just China's history in particular is just very fascinating. And this book is able to tell it in such a concise way that I've never seen any other book do. And there's some illustrations, like this one's of the Terracotta Warriors, where the emperor, or I think it was the general, he was like, "Oh, I'm so scared of dying. Let's have all of my troops in carved, chiseled in stone." And that's what happened. And they built this whole museum around there. And I actually went there. I was fortunate enough to go there in person, walking around the perimeter of the place and seeing all that. It was something else to behold, that's for sure. But yeah, it's great stuff. Now, I want to put Fight Club in here, but I don't have it on me, but just pretend like Fight Club's in here, and also pretend that Mark Manson's Mental Models is in there, the most recent edition of that, by the way.